Hey, what's up? My name's Orlando. If you're new here, I talk about running and lifting on this channel. I'm currently training for my second marathon, the Montreal Marathon. I'm in week 4 of 16. In this video, I'm gonna rate 5 pieces of common running advice. The first piece of advice I want to talk about, it was actually given to me during the race expo, the day before my first marathon, which was also my first race ever. I met one of the volunteers and he asked me if it was my first race and everything, and I told him that it was and what my goal time was, and he was like, if it's your first race, don't have a goal time, just focus on finishing the race. He said it in this really supportive way. He asked me if I did my long runs, to which I replied, yeah, of course I did my long runs. I'm prepared over here. So he said, don't even worry about it. You're going to do fine. Just focus on finishing the race. You don't even set a goal time for yourself. So I gracefully thanked him, but wanting to set a high bar for myself, I was like, no way in hell. I have my goal time. Also, there's a bunch of dudes out there that can run 3-hour marathons and also bench press a cow. I have a standard to live up to over here. That was kind of my internal dialogue. And I talk about this more in the video I made for week 1, if you want to check that out. I'm glad I set a goal time of 3:30 for myself, even though I didn't reach that goal time because my legs blew out in kilometer 25 and I just had to really slow down, and then I ended up doing a sub 4-hour marathon, with which I was very happy. Also, it just being my first race, I was really happy to have just finished it. I was between, I've set this goal time for myself and this is a completely new experience. Just enjoy it and embrace it. I realized I would be doing myself a huge disservice if I crossed the finish line and I allowed myself to be disappointed, because I trained so much to get to that point. I'd been running for 1.5 years, 2 years by the time I did that first marathon. I put myself in this hypothetical scenario where I set a goal for myself, I cross the finish line, and then I'm upset. I was thinking that would be ridiculous. I wouldn't like that person. You would be just taking joy away from your own experience. So I realized all of that during the race. My mindset just shifted during the thing, and then I finished it. I was so happy. With that in mind, I would rate this piece of advice a 5 out of 10. And I say that because it comes from a good place, but it can also take away the goal setting that's needed when you're making a training plan. You need some kind of goal. It can be to just finish it. That's totally fine. But if you're someone who has a rough idea of a time goal because you've been running for a bit, go for it. Try it. Maybe you're capable of more than you think of. So I'm glad I was a little bit delusional and I decided to push myself.
I had never done that before. 1.2 kilometers, 4:10. Rest a bit, 400 meters, 3:45. Yo, that was hard. The hardest part was the second long interval because I was exhausted from just having sprinted for 400 meters. And it's so humid, I feel like I can't breathe in fully. But now I'm cooling down. That's the good part. The work is done. The work is done. And now we cool down.
Yeah. The second tip that I've seen online is when you're just starting out running, don't base your zone 2 easy runs on your heart rate. I agree with this, with a caveat. When you're starting out, your aerobic base isn't developed enough for your heart rate to accurately represent what zone 2 training is. You'll be at an easy pace. Depending on your base of physical fitness, your heart rate might be spiking. It might be way higher when you're at an easy pace. So your watch data is going to be skewed for a bit. That's true. That would have happened to me if I had had a watch when I started running. I did not have a watch for the first 1.5 years of running. Maybe I would have made faster gains. I would have had more data to fall back on to know if I was improving or not. But at the same time, it completely forced me to just tune in with my body and actually feel what an easy pace or a faster pace actually was. I know myself, and I would have also completely gotten obsessed with the numbers if I had had a watch. So maybe it's probably a good thing that I didn't. But at the same time, it would have been nice to see my heart rate become lower and lower at the same paces. So I would give this a 7 out of 10, because if you do have a running watch, it can give you a lot of good data and workouts. But at the same time, if you're comparing yourself to people who are very experienced runners, it's not a one-to-one comparison. You have to take the data with a grain of salt as just an extra bit of information, and keep listening to your body and like notice the incremental improvements over time. The third piece of advice that I want to talk about is that you should build up your running volume progressively. I cannot agree with this enough. In my first year running, I started implementing speed work kind of suddenly, and I ended up with Achilles tendonitis for 6 months. I was rehabbing it. It was very mentally discouraging, and this kind of thing is preventable if you actually build up your volume and the intensity slowly. Now I train hard, yes, but more importantly, I try and train really smart, and I mean build up slowly, progressively. I rest and recover, and I can go way harder now, but it's because I've given my body time to adapt to like the stresses that I put it through and actually become stronger. And now I'm able to run faster and everything without giving myself tendonitis and being out of order for 6 months. This one is super important, and it relates to tip number 5. So 10 out of 10, build your volume up slowly. Common piece of running advice number 4 is you need to have race day shoes. Sure, if you have experience running, if you're used to running races, etc., if it's your first race, if it's your first marathon, and you don't have that much running experience, do yourself a favor and get shoes that are actually comfortable to wear for over like 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. Because if you do what I did and you let yourself get influenced by all these running influencers that are like, these shoes are so fast and these ones have a nylon plate, these ones have a carbon plate, you'll end up buying Saucony Endorphin Speed 3s and you'll hate them, but supposedly they make you faster, so you wear them on your first marathon and it makes it way harder than it needed to be. Of course it was hard, but having a shoe that I really didn't like and was super uncomfortable added this whole other layer of discomfort that could have been avoided if I'd worn shoes that I was comfortable with, but that weren't like super shoes or something like that. Focus on getting faster and getting your legs to actually move faster, and then think about super shoes or whatever. Also, I'm not the boss of you, so you can go buy Alpha Flies if you want, but just know that they might be mega uncomfortable. I rate this a 0 out of 10. You don't need super shoes for your first race. Just get something comfortable, man. Okay, I just finished my long swim. Just kidding. My long run, but I got absolutely drenched again. Second time in like 2 weeks, I think. It's fine. I really did not want to go today. Oh my God, I really didn't want to go. I got up, I felt groggy almost. My head was in a fog like all morning until I was about 8 kilometers into my run. And I know this about myself. I know that happens. So I know I'll feel better once I'm actually moving and stuff. And I don't actually let myself give in to my feeling of, I don't feel like it. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to go on the run. It's cold and rainy. Why am I doing this? Let me just like face plant and eat chips. That's kind of what part of my brain is saying, but I don't give in to that. And then I show up and I do my running, and that's how I'm able to actually be consistent, as I don't listen to that part of my brain that much. Today was actually a really good run too. I have a bit of a tight piriformis glute medius thing, so I'll do some more band work for that, but it's getting better. I just feel like mentally it's becoming a bit more difficult for me, but that's why I'm here, is to build up that mental strength. The last piece of advice I want to rate is probably the one that I've seen the most, and it's run slow to run fast. I had to finish on this one. It's true. Okay? Yes, it's true. If all you do is run as hard as you can until you're exhausted, you're not going to improve your aerobic base. The nuance that's left out is that once you do enough slow running to build your aerobic base to then run faster, you actually have to run fast. And they leave that part out, and you won't get faster if all you're doing is slow running. And I know, because I tried, and I was doing a bunch of zone 2 running, and I was thinking, why am I not getting faster? And then I would try going faster, and I didn't really feel faster. I started getting faster when I did an actual training plan that had speed work in it and a lot of easy paced runs. You should run slow to run fast, but it's more that it sounds cool. Obviously, that's why you hear that everywhere. You will have to run fast at some point to actually run fast, and that might sound obvious, but I needed to hear that, and maybe you need to hear that too. 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. Final decision. Also, I tried an incredible gel. I tried the goo s'mores flavor. Amazing. It tastes exactly like a Camembert. Maybe an obscure reference for some. So good. I'm gonna go eat some kind of protein. That's everything I have for today. So thanks for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.